Hello, Business Finance 330. This is Professor Hassey. It's week 5 of our winter term business finance class, and I welcome you all. I'm back in operation this week on a regular schedule. Please excuse me, I'm a couple hours late in my introduction video, but it's the beginning of the spring semester for the campus students, the main Laverne campus students. They start school this week, so I'm a little bit behind in that. I'm also teaching a couple courses to our freshman members of our university. But here we are getting ready to start for our class Wednesday, February 3rd at 6 p.m. And hope all of you remember, and many of you have already posted your updated portfolio spreadsheets for due tonight, Tuesday. Make sure you update them with the new valuation, a change in value or your percentage changes, and also a recording of the beta of your companies in that spreadsheet. Look at my weekend video if you have any questions or concerns involved that. We're going to be doing a lot this week to make up for our lost week last week. Chapter 5, time value of money. Chapter 6, bond valuation. Chapter 7, stock valuation. And beginning our discussion of capital budgeting in chapters 8 and 9. You'll also be having a take-home assignment this week, our second one, which will be due a week from tonight, February 9th, and it'll cover chapters 5, 6, and 7. So a lot on our plate, a lot to get to. Those are the problems I'll be reviewing in class. I'll be posting the solutions to those problems prior to class tomorrow. So if look forward to seeing you all. I want to show a brief video to just get us back into our thinking of finance after a week's layoff. And yes, we did have a video this weekend, but let's take a look at this video explaining the time value of money.
So if you've taken any accounting courses or any basic finance courses, you've probably been exposed to something called the time value of money. So we hear this concept a lot, and it's something very important to the foundations of finance and to some degree accounting. So we want to talk about, well, what does this mean from a conceptual point of view? What is the concept here? What are we talking about when we say that money has a time value? So let's look at this through an example. So let's take an example here. Let's say that I offer you two options. Okay, now one of the options is going to be that I give you $100 cash today. $100 today. And then in the other option, we're going to say that I give you, let's change colors here again. Let's say I give you $100 1 year from now. 1 year from now. Now, let's just assume for a moment that when I say I'll give you the $100 1 year from now, that's certain. That's not something that I might not pay it or something like that. It's guaranteed. You either get $100 today or you get $100 1 year from now. But either way, there's no risk associated with it. You're going to get the $100. So let's look at these two options. Now, which would you prefer? Now, you might say, well, I just prefer the $100 today because I just want the money. I have something I'm already going to spend it on. But let's just forget about that for a moment. Let's assume that you don't necessarily have anything you want to buy, but you do want the $100. Well, you might think, well, I'm indifferent whether I get it today or whether it's 1 year from now. But let's think about this because the money has a time value. Now let's illustrate this. So let's look at a little timeline here. So here in this option, we're getting the $100 right here, which we'll call this, that's today, right here. This is today. And then over here, this is 1 year from now. 1 year. Now let's go down to our other option, and we'll have a little timeline. And again, we've got right here is today, and you're not getting anything today. There's nothing here because you're getting it 1 year from now. You're going to be handed right here $100. Now let's think about things here for a moment. So when we get the $100 here today, what can we do with that money? Well, you could go out and spend it or something. But let's just assume that you didn't spend it. Well, what else could you do? You could invest that money. Now, let's say that you invested in something and you ended up getting a 5% return. Let's say you took it to the bank and you got a 5% return on some kind of investment. Now, what's going to happen is that at the end of that year, you don't have $100 anymore. Well, what do you have? You're going to have 100 times 1.05, which is going to be that's going to be $105. So we see that if you get the money today, if you get it sooner rather than later, there's a value to getting it earlier because it can be invested to earn a rate of return. And then at the end of the period, you end up having more money than what you started with. Now, when we look at the other option where you get $100 at the end of the year, you didn't have the option of investing it here because you didn't have the money. So when you get the money sooner rather than later, there's more value there because you can go ahead and invest the money and earn a return on it. So that's what we're talking about when people say that the time value of money. They're just basically saying that money is something that if you're looking at cash flows, cash flow today or cash flow in the future, a cash flow today, all else equal, the same amount is going to have more value because it can be invested for that return. So now you might be thinking, well, how does this have real world applications or what do we think about? But let's say we've got some project that the firm is thinking about. That project, you might say, okay, well, we're going to buy this machine and it would generate cash flows over a period of, let's say, 5 years. So you can look at these different years and you can go and say, okay, here's year 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And you can say, okay, well, we estimate that in year 1, if we get this machine, we're gonna have $100 in cash flow. In year 2, 175. Year 3, 200. 300, and then let's say in the last year it generates 50. But what you can do is say, okay, well, now we know we're estimating these cash flows, but now what we want to do is we want to say, okay, well, like for example, here in year 5, that $50, we can't just add all these together and say, okay, well, now we've got this sum and this is how much it's gonna generate from this. We have to take into account that $50 5 years from now is not worth the same as $50 today. So what we're going to do is account for this time value of money. And TV, maybe not the best acronym I have there, but the time value of money, we're going to look at this and we're going to say, well, what if we can just go ahead and say we earn a 5% interest on all our investments? Then we can say, okay, let's figure out what that $50 5 years from now is worth in terms of today's dollars. And when we do that, what we're doing is called discounting cash flows. So we're discounting cash flows. So that 50 here, this is a cash flow in year 5. And what we're doing is we're saying, what's the rate of return we could have earned on money today? Let's say 5%, 7%, whatever it is. And then let's use that to go ahead and discount this number and say, so it's going to be something less than 50 because maybe it's 30 or 35 or whatever, depending on your discount rate, could have been invested today to get 55 years from now. So when we talk about discounting cash flows, what we're doing is we're using the time value of money concept and some other formulas that we're going to talk about in other videos to take future cash flows and figure out what are they worth today.
Okay, a good introduction video for our time value discussion tomorrow night, which will also lead into bond valuation, stock valuation, and capital budgeting. We use this concept of time value in all of those additional chapters, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and 11. So this is a key concept in finance for us to get a handle on, and we'll go over it in great detail in class on Wednesday evening. Look forward to seeing you all there. Then make sure you post your spreadsheets tonight. I look forward to reading them tomorrow before class, and we'll talk about the current market, which is a lot to talk about these days about the stock market. And I'll see you all tomorrow evening. Adios.